Fluoro Peninsula, south of Adelaide, in Australia, and behind me in the Adelaide Hills is Mount Terrible. Mount Terrible is over 300 metres above the valley below, and this has been an ideal location for an electric mountain where water at the top of the hill and water at the bottom hill can be connected by reversible turbines, so that when water runs down the hill through the turbines it generates electricity, and then when excess electricity is available, the turbines can be reversed to pump the water back up the hill. This process of pumping up and down has about a 75% efficiency. This compares with the efficiency of lithium-ion batteries, which is 80% or 85% depending upon the state of charge. So a 75% efficiency between the top and the bottom compares well with what you can do with electric batteries. This is a water battery at Mount Terrible in South Australia.
So this is Hahn Road at Aldinga, looking at Mount Terrible. We can see that there's two potential sites for pumped hydro. Down here on the plain is the Aldinga sewage treatment plant, which stores a lot of water coming from the southern suburbs of Aldinga and Seaford, and we can see that the red line is for the electric train lines, which currently go as far as Seaford, but it's proposed they'll be taken through to Aldinga, which is very close to this Mount Terrible potential site. And we can see this is Greater Adelaide. This is the Fluoro Peninsula south of Adelaide. This is Adelaide here, Hornsdale, Aldinga. Just here there's a large range of mountains, hills of 300 metres height or more. Most famous of these is at Aldinga, which is originally was called Mount Terrible. And in times past, the Aboriginal people who lived here for about 30,000 years used to move from the north to the south via a passage up Mount Terrible, across what we now call Hindmarsh Tiers, and down Mount Nettle. In modern times, just here is the first of the wind farms which were brought into South Australia. We're going to go from Australia to Dinorwig in North Wales. To a slate mine which was turned into a dam for the hydro. This is the Dinorwig power station in North Wales, and in the mountains above the lake there was a quarry, a slate quarry at Muchton Moor, where they built a dam and connected the two. If we look at the elevation profile, we can see that Muchton Moor, the water is at a level of about 637 metres above sea level, and there's obviously a crest of a hill, and then we come down through the actual power station, which is at an elevation of about 106 metres, and it's a horizontal distance of about 3.82 kilometres. And because this is a national park, they actually connected the top lake with a bottom lake with a series of tunnels under the mountain, which is an expensive way of doing it because this is a national park. They didn't want to disturb the surface of the national park, and an underground power station. Dinorwig was built 50 years ago. Let's return now to South Australia and Mount Terrible for the potential of a pumped hydro scheme similar to that in Wales. This is the pumped hydroelectric scheme number 3971, which we can see the Mount Terrible Road is at the top of Mount Terrible near Sellex Hill in Adelaide. And if we were to try to have a pumped hydro scheme, we'd need a dam at a lower level. And so one possibility would be as an area down here on the plain connected by a pipe between the two. If we look at the properties of this pipe, the water in the pumped scheme at the top of the hill, Mount Terrible, is at an elevation of about 361 metres, and the water in the lower dam would be at an elevation of 85 metres above sea level and a horizontal distance of 2.73 kilometres. The volume of this dam would be slightly bigger in volume as the dam in North Wales at Dinorwig. We'll now go to northern Flinders Ranges of South Australia, and we'll see a number of potential sites for pumped hydro storage of energy as identified by the University of ANU. These are the Flinders Ranges here. This is the famous pylon that collapsed one time in a great storm. Here's Jamestown, and just at the junction of the power lines which run from Port Augusta to the east coast, we can see here some wind farm turbines, and here is the Hornsdale battery. Hornsdale. Some of the wind turbines. Looking south. Hornsdale. Brilliant. Can't get near it. The batteries are in behind this switching station. similar. This is a comparison of the three schemes looking at. The Hornsdale battery, which exists in South Australia, just north of Peterborough in the Flinders Ranges. The Dinorwig Dam in North Wales, and the proposal at Mount Terrible of 3971. The volume of water at Mount Terrible would be around about 13 gigalitres, whereas at Dinorwig it's something like 9.2 gigalitres. So there's more water proposed in the Mount Terrible, but the vertical distance the water goes through in Mount Terrible, because the mountains aren't quite as high, it would be 276 metres, whereas the height of fall in Dinorwig is almost double that at 531 metres. The horizontal distance at Dinorwig is 3.8, giving a grade of 14%, whereas at Mount Terrible the horizontal distance is 2.740 metres, a grade of 10%. The amount of stored energy has been rated at 11 gigawatt hours in Mount Terrible, whereas in Dinorwig it's around about 9 gigawatt hours. And Dinorwig's got 6 turbines, so it would follow that probably 6 turbines would be necessary at Mount Terrible. The efficiency of pumped hydro is around about 70%, so the effective amount of energy that Dinorwig gives is something like 7 gigawatt hours for a complete cycle of emptying the water from the top to the bottom and then taking it back up again. So whilst you've got 9.4 gigabytes of energy there, an efficiency of 75% means you only effectively get 7 gigawatt hours back. Whereas at Mount Terrible, the amount of energy stored there is 11 gigawatts with a 75% efficiency. The effective thing would be 8.4 gigawatt hours of energy. We compare this with the Hornsdale battery. I think it's been recently upgraded, but at the time of creation of this video, it was storing 0.19 gigawatt hours of energy with response time of a few seconds, whereas in a turbine system it's about 25 seconds response time. The efficiency of an electric battery is about 80%, so the effective energy available with the cycle for a Hornsdale is around about 0.152 gigawatt hours compared to 7 at Dinorwig and 8.4 at Mount Terrible. The disadvantage of chemical batteries is there's a limited number of cycles. There might be 2 or 3 or 4,000 cycles in which the batteries would need to be replaced because the chemical structure degrades. Whereas pumped hydro, the Dinorwig system's been in operation for nearly 50 years, and the life cycle of a pumped hydro scheme is something like 100 years. So that the total cost of a pumped hydro scheme has to be measured against how long the scheme will be available for use. It is suggested that chemical batteries are easily scaled up and have good response times. Pumped hydro also has good response times, but you can't scale it up. You have to make a decision up front how big you want to be. Pumped hydro at Mount Terrible would be probably bigger than the one in Dinorwig in Wales.